Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Money with Alice. This is Alice. 2020 has been a really rough year for a lot of us and for most of the world in general. But now that 2020 is over, we can welcome 2021, we can refresh and reset. Although 2020 has been a really tough year, a lot of the time was in quarantine and the pandemic was raging the entire year, I think there were still a lot of learning points that I had learned during 2020 that I wanted to share. Now that the year is over, I just wanted to take some time to think about what I was grateful for over the course of 2020, and also, even though things could have gone better, there are certain aspects that I think have gone really well for the year. So here's a couple things that I've learned or that I'm grateful for with 2020. In 2020, this was the year that my cooking skills have really flourished. Before the pandemic, I probably ate at restaurants like 90% of my meals. On the weekdays, I definitely either went to a restaurant or I ordered takeout, and on the weekends, the only times I really cooked was when I didn't have any brunch plans, and that was maybe like one time a week at most. So I really only made one meal, and that one meal that I would make would be like avocado toast. When I ate out to the restaurants a lot, not only was it expensive, I also didn't know what the ingredients were, so it wasn't as healthy as it could have been. With the pandemic happening, a lot of the restaurants in New York were closed, so out of necessity, I started cooking a lot. I've been making so much food ever since, and now I discovered that I actually really enjoy cooking. A lot of food that I've made include like pasta, made some Korean food, made some Chinese food. My mom will be so proud of me, and they're actually pretty good. I surprised myself with how good of a chef I am. During 2020, due to necessity, now I've discovered that I really enjoy cooking and that I'm a pretty okay cook. And now I think even once the pandemic ends, I'm still gonna cook a lot more meals at home. This is cheaper and healthier, so it's the best of both worlds. Although PS, on the weekend, I still make a lot of avocado toast, but now I'm not paying $20 for them. Now I'm getting like $3 worth of ingredients and then assembling that and eating it at home. So I'm saving a whole lot of coins. 2020 has made me a lot more introspective. It's given me a lot of time to slow down and actually think about why I want to do certain things and really understand more about my own life. Before the pandemic hit, I was just so focused on doing things, always being on the go. Like if there was one day where I didn't leave my apartment for the entire day, I feel like I've wasted a day. With the pandemic happening, we were forced to stay indoors, and this is really the first time where I spend indoors for such a long amount of time. And I'm learning to enjoy spending time indoors, but also sometimes, going for a grocery run and going outside to really change up the rhythm has been a good way to break up the day. Now I've gotten a lot more comfortable with being more flexible about my daily schedules. Sometimes I'll go out and sometimes I'll just stay in, and both are perfectly fine. But now I'm okay with staying indoors, whereas before I would feel like I wasted the entire day because I wasn't doing something that didn't involve just for the sake of doing things. Most importantly, I think this pandemic has allowed me to take a breather and slow down a little bit in my life and slow down in the pace of my life. And now I can feel like I actually have time to think about things and reflect after I do something rather than just being go, go, go all the time. So I think in 2020, I'm really grateful for the fact that because of the amount of time that I've been spending at home and the forced quarantine, I was able to really reflect on what I want personally, what I want professionally, and what my long-term and near-term goals are. With not a lot of activities, I really didn't have any other choice but to be stuck with my thoughts. And this is sort of the first time when I actually had such a long extended period of time that I was able to think through so many different things. I think now compared to pre-pandemic, I definitely think a lot more about the actions and am a lot more mindful of why I pursue certain things and why I do something rather than just doing things for the sake of being on the go. Another added benefit of being more introspective this year is that because with the quarantine happening, I didn't see a lot of people, right? So before I used to have to compare myself, whether consciously or not, to other people all the time. But now that I am basically stuck with myself 24/7 and I'm the only source of interaction to myself a lot of time, I've had a lot more of the realization that rather than, comparing to other people and how their life is doing, I need to compare my own life to just myself, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm stuck with my own actions, I'm stuck with my own life, and other people will move on with their lives as well. So rather than comparing now to other people and how they're doing, I'm comparing more so to myself. Am I better today than I was yesterday? If that answer is yes, that's what I'm trying to achieve. And if that answer is no for one of the days, it's also okay. So I've learned to be a lot more forgiving with myself and to be a lot more introspective in the aspect that I want to compare my own progress rather than benchmarking to someone else's progress. In 2020, I'm really grateful that I got to spend a lot of time with my closest friends and family. In the past, on the weekends, I would go to all these large gatherings or large parties, but at a large party, it's really hard to get to know someone on a deeper level and really form a deeper relationship with them. So a lot of the relationships I feel like were more surface level, and with the pandemic, it's become a lot harder to see people in a party setting. So it's really allowed me to focus on people that I'm most close with and that I want to form the closest connections with. So the pandemic has given me a really good opportunity to really narrow down and focus on those relationships that I value the most. With friends, I've learned that the company is much more important than the actual venue. In the past, a lot of the hangouts I would try to have is like at a nice restaurant, at a nice bar, but now that I've learned, the important part about hanging out with friends is not actually going to the venue and experience it. Of course, having the experience is nice, but what's most important is the conversation and the connection that you are actually forming as you're going to these events. The element of forming a connection and actually growing that connection has been a more important aspect that now I value a lot more and actually am more mindful of as a result of 2020. In 2020, I got to spend a lot of time with family, which is not anything I have ever been able to do. In the past, I probably went home like 2 or 3 days for the entire year, which I know is very, very little. But with the pandemic happening and when I was working from home, I was able to go home and stay for like 3 months long. And it was super nice to be able to just hang out with family. As I'm growing older, I'm realizing that, my parents won't be here forever. So with the limited time remaining, it's important to just go visit them and spend time with them while we can and, cherish a moment. So in 2020, I'm really grateful for the ability to deepen the connections with people that I really care about, with my closest friends and family. And I'm glad that in 2020, I was able to build those connections. Although 2020 was less traveling and less outdoor concerts and less parties for me, I think this year has taught me a lot about myself, and I've learned new cooking skills and I've become a lot closer with friends and family. So I'm really grateful for 2020 for the experiences and learning lessons that I have learned and accumulated this year, and I'm really excited to apply those lessons going forward to 2021 and beyond. What are you most grateful for 2020? And do you have any 2021 goals? Leave a comment to share below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.